everybody. So here's what we're going to do today. This is a macrame kit. So macrame is decorative knot tying, basically. So we're going to take everything out of this kit and see what you all need. Now, according to the back of this project takes 90 minutes. I don't think it's going to take that long. You need glue. We'll find out what for. Scissors and tape. So luckily I have some scissors nearby. Tape, I'm assuming, is to keep your project still while you tie your knots. So if you feel you need that, go for it. If there's any other thing you might need it for, we'll find out together. So let's take a look. Now the last couple Creatology projects we've done, the instructions were like super simple. With knot tying macrame, I would assume that they will be more aggressive. I don't know. Would go into more detail. So these are beads to go on the end of your strings right there. So I'm gonna put these to the side because these will be kind of the last part of the project. So I'm gonna move them over here. Let's take a look at the instructions. Okay, so yeah, this is a little bit more in depth than the last Creatology project. Let's take a look. So the instruction says, it shows you how to do a lark's head knot, a square knot, a diagonal left double half hitch, say that 10 times fast, and a diagonal right double half hitch. Okay, this says you need to cut the cotton cord into 8 pieces, 2 cords that are 18 inches, 6 cords that are 42 inches. Well, it didn't say that you needed a ruler, but evidently you do. Okay, so we're gonna pause here and I'm gonna cut this string into what the direction says. So I'm gonna pause. Okay, so I'm back. Hi. I decided to go with a tape measure for this project because the lengths we need of 18 inches and 42 inches are just going to be too difficult to do with with just a standard ruler. So that being said, I have my scissors and I have a tape measure for me to measure with. I do apologize. I hope you guys have something to measure with at home. I didn't provide anything, but I didn't know that this project wouldn't come with pre-cut strings. Okay, so it says you need 2 cords that are 18 inches. So this is 18 inches right there. Another trick is once you have one that's the right length, you can use it to measure another. Okay, so there's 2 cords that are 18 inches long. Okay, there's that. And then it says you need 6 cords that are 42 inches long. So I have my tape measure sitting at 20. So I'm going to go 20 and 20 for 40. And then 2. I'm going to double check my length by pulling my tape measure all the way up to 42. Measuring down. All right, I made it a little long because I was adjusting for error. This is 43-ish inches, but that's okay. Hopefully there's enough string to cover that. So let's see. Four. Five. And 6 has even got like a couple inches extra. So there's plenty of string to make your 6 strings. Okay. Once you have that measured and cut, see what it says to do next. The instruction says add tape to the end of each cord to prevent fraying. I'm not worried about that. I'm just going to let it go. One by one, fold the 42-inch cords in half and attach them to the dowel using the lark's head knot. Okay, that's easy enough. So we have our 6 42-inch strings approximating where the half is. Lark's head is very simple. So you have your dowel, you have your string underneath the dowel. This comes down and you tie the knot by pulling the strings through the loop and onto the dowel. That's a lark's head. Okay, easy peasy lemon squeezy. You're just gonna do that with all 6 of your long strings. Okay, very simple knot. There you have it. I have all 6 of my 42-inch strings tied onto the dowel with a lark's head knot. Okay, lay it out. All right. With 4 loose strands, make a square knot at the top. Repeat 2 more times with the remaining 8 loose strands. Okay, so looking at the diagram here, we're going to work with 2 lark's head knots. Okay, so we're going to start with these 2 on the end. The inside strings on these 2 knots, so these strings here, you're not going to tie these. You're taking the outside strings and tying a square knot around the inside strings. Okay, so I'm going to do this as slowly as I can here. You're just going to basically tie, it's just a square knot. It's 2. I'm trying to get extra out of the way. Okay. So I can do this where you can see it. All right, a square knot is the same as tying your shoe. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna come from one behind the other. You know what? This would even be even better. Okay, so I'm gonna tie crisscross strings and tie in front, and then I crisscross them around the back and tie in back. And this is just the crisscross under and through that you do with your tennis shoes. So you see how it looks like the diagram now with a loop on the front and a loop on the back. I know it's a little difficult to see, but I'll do it again with the next ones because you're supposed to do it with the next 8. You're supposed to follow the same steps. So we're gonna fold these 2 back down. Okay, again, we're using the outer strings, not the inner strings. I'm just gonna cross them like this. Have the one on top, go through the loop like that, kind of pull it up. Okay, then you're gonna cross them in the back and have the one on top underneath go through the loop so that you have 2 knots tied, one on front and one on back, basically. So I'll show it to you one more time with the next one. Take the top 2 outer strings, crisscross under and through. Tie them together. And then if it helps, you can always flip over your project like this and tie it on the back side. If that helps you visualize your project a little better. So tighten up this first one I did. It's not as tight as the others. Okay. So now I have 3 knots. Now, again, if you don't do this exactly like the instructions say, it's not the end of the world. The whole reason behind macrame is to make something that's decorative. So tie it how you feel looks the best. But we're going to keep following along with the instructions as best as we can. Okay. To move on to the next row, tie 2 square knots with the middle 8 loose strands. Okay. So now what it wants us to do, put this one to the side, this not to the side, because we're going to work with this, with these 2 groups. So now what it wants us to do is take the 2 middle strands here, one strand, the outer strands from the 2 sections. That's now going to be our middle piece. And we're supposed to take the next strand next to it and tie these ones together. So tie it like that. Same strings, flip our project. Using the same strings, tie around the middle 2 ones on the back side. Okay. So basically what I've done is I've created this almost V, decorative V, from the 3 knots with that tie. So that was one. Now we've got to do another one with these 2. So again, we're going to use the outer two strings as our inner strings, and the next ones as our tying strings. There. Project. Same strings. Tie here. Now this can get a little messy. There's a lot of strings hanging. Get confusing. But as long as you tie tight knots, it comes out a little bit easier to tell what's what. Okay. So if we're looking at this now, we have two outer strings here. We have 4 strings coming from this knot. We have 4 strings coming from this knot and 2 outer strings there. That's what our project looks like. Okay, so we did that step. That step is done. Repeat step 4 for the 3rd row. Okay. So what it's showing me now is we're going to tie one here by putting these 2 strings in the middle, taking these 2 strings, and these are going to be our tying strings. So take and tie this one like this. Project. Same 2 strings. Like this. Now you don't have to flip your project if you find it easier to just work with it on one side. I find it easier to flip my project. Okay, so that was that knot. Now, do the same thing on this section. We have 2 strings here, tie these 2 strings here. And also flip the strings up after you've made that first tie. 2 strings there. Again, make a 3rd one. 2 strings here. 2 strings here. Strings up. Tie these 2 strings. Okay, so we now have 3 rows. 1 row, 2 row, 3 rows. Okay. The idea with macrame is that you want to kind of adjust your strings, your knots as you go to make straight rows, because sometimes you'll tie a knot a little bit tighter than the others, much like I've done here, or a little looser than the others. You won't have clear, defined rows. So you kind of got to adjust your project as you go. So there, now I have my 3 rows of knots. All right. Repeat step 5 for the 4th row. So it looks like we do it again, but we're doing it with just the inner ones, not the outer ones. Just like we did here. So we're going to do knot here. 2 was the so now I've got 2 nuts. Okay. Make a square knot, 1 square knot for the 5th row. So it wants us to only do 1 here in the middle. Take these 2 strings here, here, and there we go. That one. Now, not a 5 diagonal right double, not 5 diagonal double, right double half hitch on the right side of the project. Okay, so for this, have this outer string here. Okay. The next string is supposed to wrap around like this. That's the first loop. And then the second loop, put string through the loop, creating a half hitch. Okay, so here's how it goes basically. I'll show it to you again. Take the string, loop it over and under. Then you loop it back over, but this time it goes in through the hole. You pull it tight. We're finishing our project this way. So you're taking the same string that was from the outer edge, and that is your center string. So we're doing, that's 2, around, and around, but through the loop. It's the third one. Fourth one. I realize you can't really see. Basically what it's going to do is it's going to tie off your project, but it's also going to create these long strands off the side of it. One more. This way, around again. It's 5 hitches on that side. And we're supposed to start back on this side and do 6. This side. It's 2. Once. Second time. Yep. 3. Time. Second time. 4. Once. Second time. 5. This one. Okay, so ones on this side came out better. But they're supposed to look like this when you're done. Basically what you're doing is you're doing this hitch we were doing up here at the top, but you're hitching it to a string rather than hitching it to a solid pole. And I think what happened is that I used the wrong string up here. I lost the string that we were attaching it to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo this side, retry the string. It should be, well, I'm just going to leave it. I think it looks okay. Everything isn't as tight now on that right side as it should be, but it's all right. Okay, there's a project. Now, the last step is to add beads and double knot on all of the hanging threads. So now these threads are extra long. You don't have to keep them that long. You can cut them shorter. I don't know why they have you make them that long. I think they thought everybody needed the space. I don't know. So beads. Beads are probably the part where you're going to want tape on your ends to make it go through the beads. I just tried 2 of them and completely frayed the ends. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them shorter and add my beads to the shorter ends. Probably going to make them maybe this long when it's done. We'll see. But for now, so the last part is to take your 18-inch ones, do the hitch, same hitch we did going down, but this time you're going to make them go up by folding it in half and hitching it to the rod. And my other string fell on the floor. So you're going to make these two hitch upwards. Like so. You're going to use the glue to secure them, because if you don't, you just saw my project slid all over the place. But then you just tie, you can use a square knot, you can use one of these, I'm not sure what they're called. Just tie the two together, pulling all 4 strings. Oops. Tightening point. That creates the hanger for your project. So glue these ends, add your beads on if you like, knot the ends of these. You know what, actually I don't like the beads. I'm not gonna do the beads. But you can, you want to use the tape on the ends of your strings so that the easily beaded. Do that. I'm just going to try to make all of my strings kind of match by having the knot at the same spot. So slide it down, knot is about the same place. So macrame can get super duper complicated, more complicated than this project. This was a beginner project. So if you enjoyed this, you like trying to figure out how to make a design using knots, there are so many things out there to try to make. My mom, Miss Patty, she used to make macrame pieces that she would submit to contests when she was younger. So she's probably gonna laugh at my project, but anyway, you can make some really complicated things. Even if you just Google online macrame, I really like the ones that have like animal shapes. There's macrame owls, macrame foxes, um, all sorts of different designs that people have made, and all they're using is string and some knots. So it's something that interests you, you know, take a look into it, find a pattern you like. String can be fairly inexpensive. This hobby was started by, you know, farmers and people who didn't have a lot of money. So they would use things like baker's twine, which you can get really inexpensive in the kitchen section of the local grocery store and like the kitchen tools section, or like you can go to Walmart and go look where they have the kitchen tools and get baker's twine, and you can use that. This is like a rope. This is a higher quality string that you're using now. The macrame can be made out of all sorts of different things, all sorts of different types of string, and all sorts of different patterns. There are books out there. You know, check your local library. There's probably even ebooks from your local library if you don't want to go to the library right now. The pandemic's still going on. Some people can find it really relaxing to be as a hobby. So just go for it. And, you know, like I said, I made a little mistake on mine, but I still think it looks kind of interesting. It's still something kind of cool. that I'm gonna hang on my wall next to the dream catcher we made a few years ago. So I hope you really enjoyed that project. By all means, look into doing it some more if you're interested. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.